everybody to the Business of Design Week 2020. I'm Dennis Yu. We are broadcasting live on View TV 6 and live streaming globally. Without further delay, please welcome the Executive Director of Hong Kong Design Center, Dr. Edmund Nee. He has led the public mission for a decade, promoting wide adoption of design thinking for people-centric innovation. He'll be leading a panel discussion entitled, How Design Adds Life to Your Years. We will be looking at the ways design is driving innovation in the field of health and healthcare.
Hello and welcome to BODW 2020. We want to thank all of you joining us from across the world this week. We have an exciting panel to talk about humanizing healthcare across life stages and the design opportunities and challenges presented. With many diseases requiring remedies, the recent COVID-19 pandemic highlights the complexity and some of the weaknesses of the global healthcare systems in taking care of an aging population. With the longevity economy set in context, experts of this session will feature inclusive design in tackling the challenges of an aging society. There are good prospects to design better healthcare systems and homes, more amenable ways to work and travel, and products and services that better meet the needs of the society. With the advent of 5G, AI, data analytics, and predictive tools, there's a buildup of use cases for wider use of advanced tech, virtual reality, video-based applications, such as telemedicine, remote surgery, and smart hospitals for healthcare. The insights from big data collected from patients, the doctors, and the community will turn into better collaborative design-led solutions and help to build more healthy communities. Now, I would like to welcome to this studio Peter Lam, the Managing Director of Engineering of Hong Kong Telecom. Thank you very much for joining us, Peter.
Thank you, Hamlin.
Now, in the city, I think the whole city is buzzing with innovation and technology development. And we are very aggressive and very serious about building up the 5G infrastructure, isn't it?
Yes. Fortunately, Hong Kong already have the 5G, have a wide coverage now. Our company actually started to lay the 5G coverage since April this year. Now, by the end of this year, we should be able to penetrate or cover 90% of outdoor coverage.
Wow, that's very good news for all of us. I think in this session, we hope to bring out the flavor of how all these technologies, advanced technologies, 5G, can actually benefit and create something meaningful, for the communities. And then I would like to introduce Dr. Fung. And Dr. Fung is actually the Executive Director and CEO of the new Chinese University Medical Center. So welcome, to the studio, Dr. Fung.
Thank you, Hamlin.
Wow, I know you must be very busy, with your new hospital going, to launch in January, right?
That's right. It will have a soft opening in January.
Wow. Okay. So thank you very much, for coming over, and talk to us. Okay.
Thank you.
Now I would like, to bring in, to the studio and two other panel members. First of all is Larry Kelly, who will be calling in from Chicago. Larry is an innovation scientist and president and co-founder of Dublin Group and author of the 10 Types of Innovation. So let's welcome Larry.
Hi, Larry.
This great panel.
Hello, Larry. Thank you very much for joining us. And I know it's 6 a.m. in Chicago in the morning. So thank you very much, for accommodating to our request, to join this panel.
Oh, Edmund, I thank you. I now know the world will still exist several hours from now. One less thing to worry about.
Thank you. And now I would like to bring in Rama, Guerrero, Director of Helen Hamlin Center for Design, Royal College of Art.
Hello, Edmund.
Hello, Rama. How are you doing?
Hi.
Wow,
Hi,
you're-
Rama.
I'm doing very well. I'm in a very purple space.
Right. Well, very glad, to have you on board here. So we've been working, for many years, and you are not just, a good friend of Design Center, but also Hong Kong. So thank you very much, for joining us.
Great pleasure to be here. Believe design can bring so much wonderful things to every conversation.
Right. Now, Rama, we talk about, these partnerships and how design can actually help to create value, right? So I understand that, you'll be sharing with us some more about, humanizing healthcare, particularly, as so societies are aging and technologies are coming on board, and how design could actually create value across different life stages. So are you ready?
I'm ready, steady, go.
Okay, so there you go. 8 minutes for you, Rama.
Okay. So we have a presentation on screen that I hope you can all see. I want to talk about humanizing healthcare, looking at technologies across the life stage. On screen, you see myself during lockdown here in London with two passions, restoring old cars and gardening. And this is a really important part of healthcare. I'm from the Royal College of Art. The RCA has produced design and designers that you will, it's produced designs that you will touch every day. I think we say on average, you will touch 12 things a day that have been designed by one of our graduates. And you can see some of the names on screen there, from Jaguar to Dyson to fashion houses to Apple. The center that I run exists purely for inclusive design. And on screen, you can see we've done about 300 projects with over 200 organizations, including Heathrow, bottom center. If you like what is going on with the wayfinding at Heathrow, we designed it. If you don't like it, they executed it badly. But there is a problem with design, and it's how it's seen. If you pull out your smartphone and type in the word designer on any WhatsApp or SMS application, what you get is this. You get an image of a designer that looks like a yellow French person from the 1940s holding a paintbrush. But designers do more than that. Design is about people of all ages, needs, abilities, shapes, all the desires and aspirations that we have. Design is a process, and I don't expect you to look at this closely, but we have frameworks, strategies, and processes that help in the boardroom and help design deploy itself creatively into human life. Inclusive design, the kind of design we practice, is defined as including the needs of the widest number of people. And who doesn't want that? Which government, city or organization or healthcare system doesn't want that? It has a 25-year history. It was defined at the center 26 years ago, and we continue to push and progress its strategies and effectiveness. I'm just going to briefly talk a minute on each of these three things. Be human, be useful, make better, and people first. Be human, the first one. We have to ask the question, what does health mean? Because it means different things to different people. To a doctor or a pharmacist, it could mean medication, prescription, or a hospital space. But for many of us, it can mean a smile from a stranger, yoga in the park, the smile of a grandchild, or a glass of wine at the end of the day. Healthcare can mean communicating with other people. It can mean sitting in your own space with your shirt off. And these are pictures from Hong Kong that we took. Your house could look like this, but when you get to a certain point in your life, you have to move into a space that looks like this. It's radically different, even in terms of color. With Edmund and with Hong Kong Polytechnic University, we actually rethought the care home bed space to make it something more aspirational, lyrical, a space that all of us would want to stay in, not just a space that you are given at the end of your life. This is really demonstrated by looking at the color palettes. On the left of the screen, you see the existing color palettes of care homes, which is typically the color of body fluids. And on the right, you see our new, effectively introduced color palettes. It is about getting designers to think about their future selves. This is Christina, one of the designers on our project, talking to her older self as part of this designing for your future self ambition that designers should have in healthcare. And you shouldn't design anything you wouldn't use yourself. This is Samantha and Gabrielle, who are two other designers actually using the bed space. Number 2 is be useful. This is a shorter one. Bring humanity into technology. This is a project we're doing with King's College London that looks at people who experience psychosis. It's about 600,000 people in the UK. And what we've created with King's College is an app, a web service called Slow Down for a Moment, or SLOMO for short. We realized we got this wrong. It wasn't just for people with psychosis. It's for all of us who ever experience stress or the need to slow down for a moment. And this will be one of the few medically tested apps that will be out there in the stores shortly. Number 3 is make better. Design can make every conversation better. Here is design in action. Here are some of our designers out in the home, out in hospitals. And a very simple example, we went to a care home. We've done a lot of work in care homes, looking at healthcare and home care. In one particular care home, they said the older people weren't eating, they'd given up on life. We realized that a lot of care home food is white, and when you put it on a white plate, people can't see it. We put the food on a blue plate, and people started eating just because they could see the food. When COVID hit, a lot of designers wanted to design ventilators or the new mask. We asked clinicians what they needed, and what they needed was simple maps to tell new staff where things were in the hospital, as you see in the picture on the left, or instructions to show people how to take a test or conduct some sort of medical procedure. It was really simple, but really important that we didn't inflict design on hospitals, but we listened. The final one is put people first. Design thinking is not this, and design is not this. We need to step beyond post-it notes to talk with real people. On the right of the screen, you see a project we did with Samsung that where our youngest ever participant, the little boy in blue, took part. Don't work with fake people, personas, marketing stereotypes, etc. There's 7.6 billion people on the planet, all going through some experience of health. Go and find a real person. Don't make up a fake one. This is the final project I'll show, which is with Oxford University. And it looks at how VR can be used to train people who are experiencing psychosis or paranoia, so they can train in the virtual environment before they step into the real environment. And I think this has wider application than healthcare. It could be applied to all aspects of life, including dating. If you could rehearse your dating technique, your conversation technique, before you went out there, wouldn't that be an amazing thing? So finally, healthcare will shift from the hospital to the home, and design can play a role in enabling that. We need to be we need to be collaborative like the dog on the right, not authoritative like the cat on the left. And I apologize to Hong Kong's cat owners for making it look like the cat is too authoritative. We also need to work with big data numbers, but also deep data, understanding people's needs. We need to design for aspiration, not just desperation when we look at healthcare. We need to start because even a small boat makes a big ripple, but you need to launch that boat on the water. If you keep it in the dry dock, if you keep it in the harbour, you're not going to make a ripple. So this is what we need with design in healthcare. And very finally, if you want to reach me on social media, that's my details, and it's been great to share that presentation with you. And to color match BODW.
Well, thank you very much, Rama. I think there's something strong, resonating, when I listen, to your talk. BODW is always about, people sharing ideas and how design innovations and actually get realized. And you talk about, well, literally, it's about design, technology, experiences, and communications. Design must be able to communicate and inform effectively. And also you talk about, humanizing, essentially, is how are we able, to get connected and outreach, to different people, and not design from your perspective by deep understanding of people and data. Now, talking about that there are many data, sources and many layers of data that can come from, I suppose, doctors, patients, and the community these days. Now, we have all this arsenal of technologies. Now, Peter, working on at Hong Kong Telecom, of course, rolling out, all the 5G and developments. And there certainly must be something, huge potentials that can be unraveled, and with particular applications to health and care. Can you enlighten us, with your experience and what it can actually do to help?
Yes, I think Hong Kong is an aging society. Two things I think we should put more focus. One is for the increasing population of aging, and the other is the chronic diseases. And so all the technical solutions or design, I think, should center around this, which is particularly most needed in Hong Kong environment. And with in designing a technical solution or service for this elderly or chronic disease patients, I think all in all, we need to be from the pinpoints of this patient's point of view, and all the design solution has to come with personalized, with care and sympathy. I think that's very, very important.
Right, okay. So I understand that you have something new to share with us, so please go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Hamlin, and thanks, Rama. Now I'm going to share how 5G technology can play an important role in helping the healthcare industry. 5G technology has three distinct capabilities. First, 5G can provide ultra high speed with peak data rate up to 20 gigabits per second. If we're going to download a 2-hour high definition movie, 3G is going to take 26 hours. 4G is much better, 6 minutes. 5G is going to download a 2-hour movie in just 3.5 seconds. So with all this ultra high speed, 5G actually is able to transmit high quality image from one location to another location in real time, such as automatic reality, virtual reality, 4K, 8K, 360-degree, 3-dimension image, which is going to enable humanized healthcare application or service with immersive customer experience, such as telemedicine and remote clinical training. Second, 5G has the fastest response time because of the low latency. 5G's fast response time is 400 times faster than the blink of our eye, so which will enable critical applications such as remote surgery and autonomous driving. Lastly, 5G also has the capability of providing massive connectivity. So in an area of 1 square kilometer, 5G can connect up to 1 million devices, which could be the medical sensors, could be the patients wearing devices or other medical IoT devices. So 5G will enable massive deployment of a personalized IoT application to enable healthcare in everywhere, anytime. These are the 3 use case, smart hospital use case we have been exploring with Hong Kong Hospital Authority in Hong Kong. I'm going to explain the use case one by one. This is the 5G-enabled operation theater we have done in one of the private hospitals in Hong Kong. In the operation theater, you can see there are endoscope, the 4K surgical camera, the 4K glass camera for the surgeon, and also the 4K OT camera. So actually what we have done, we have developed a very specific 5G collaboration platform which will connect all these medical devices in the operation theater to the 5G network. So you can see the 3D endoscope views together with multiple views from other medical equipment can be transmitted to the consultation room at a distant location, in this case, as Hospital B, simultaneously, and the consultants at a consultation room actually can see all the 3D 4K images as if they were in the operation theater. So as a result, the consultants at the consultation room actually can provide instant advices to the operation theater. 5G actually brings a new approach in remote mentoring. 4K multiple views of operation theater are transmitted in real time to consultation room, to the same exchange or to other hospital exchange. And consultants in that room actually can provide advices to operation theater, not just to one hospital, could be to many, many other peripheral hospitals. And that's, we can enable to pull in all the scale resources of consultants to a centralized hospital to support the remote or the outskirts peripheral hospitals. And no matter where they're at the consultation room or on the move, if they're on the move, the 5G territory coverage will enable the consultant still will be connected through 5G iPhones, 5G smartphones, and tablets. Telemedicine. Telemedicine, in this case, can be easily provided through public internet. But if we are going to use a dedicated 5G network, more value-added service can be provided. 5G collaboration platform I mentioned earlier is able to connect all the medical equipment and devices at the patient side such that the doctor at the hospital side can get more information from the patients, such as the vital signs information, blood pressure, temperature, etc. This is another telemedicine scenario with nurse on-site. Nurse on-site definitely will help to collect some of the vital signs for the doctor, which is going to greatly used by the remote doctor to facilitate his diagnosis. Doctor to student remote training. These are the 3 commonly used video. Student at the lecture theater with appropriate AR or VR headset can actually see 3D image for minimally invasive surgery, 360-degree for surgery training, and simulated VR program. This is a typical remote training you can see. Hologram technology is also widely used in remote training, in particular for those doctors planning before a surgery. You can see that the doctor can easily take a CT scan or MRI image and interpose or overlay onto the body of the patient so that the surgeon can actually see behind or below the surface before he actually makes an invasion. And lastly, I'm going to sum up with 5G and AI, robotic, cloud computing. All this is going to help to develop much better in the healthcare industry. Thank you.
Wow, Peter. So correct me if I'm wrong. So basically, 5G will create a brand new world, for all the possibilities, for healthcare. You mentioned about telemedicine, remote training, a reality, so to speak.
Yes, yes. As you can see, I think in the United States, the Department of Veterans Affairs, in April, I think this year, they have come up with a PPP program, private-public participation, with participation from Microsoft, Verizon, and one of the software developing company called Vertex. So in the collaboration, they actually come together with a combined setup. As I explained earlier, Microsoft will contribute the HoloLens delivery platform. Verizon, of course, will contribute the 5G network. And Vertex will provide the imaging and surgery navigation system so that they can superimpose any CT, MRI image onto a patient's body. You can see a lot of this, more and more this medical application in a virtual using AR technology is going to come up in the hospital.
Wow, that's amazing. Right, now, Larry, I'd like to bring you on stream now. We're talking about a brand new possibility with technologies and everything. So with everyone desire to live longer, to live well, to live empowered lives, can you tell us a bit more about this longevity economy and the prospects, of design?
I'll do my best. Such an important topic, and it's so delightful to be able to have this great panel. Like Rama, I've been a teacher at one of the world's most demanding design schools, the Institute of Design, for 37 years. And what I particularly appreciate about what Rama was teaching us is this idea that we have to think about the human first. What Peter Lamb builds on top of that is the idea that for the first time, maybe ever, the technologies that we need to serve people well can feel natural, we don't have to think about them very much anymore. All the capabilities that we need will surround us, and we'll be able to address that. Now, as you know, Edmund, that's been a joy of mine for some time. I've been privileged to work with Mayo Clinic for many years, building their signature innovation competence, with Kaiser Permanente to build their new medical school, with Dr. Dean Ornish, one of the world's leading researchers on longevity, to be able to ask what are the issues that drive a longer, healthier life, and how we can take that into the world of design and design students in particular to produce the kinds of things that make the biggest difference. Take a notice of the thoughtfulness with which Rama just changed something simple like the color of the plate in a care home. What I've been having graduate students do for some time is to think about what you can do to take the kinds of technologies that we've been learning about from Peter Lamb and address the ways in which someone's home might function. I think we have some slides, don't we? Thank you. The normal way that people look at technology these days is the kind of thing you see on the screen here, where someone, a doctor or a nurse, would be able to see the condition of a patient, increasing.
Right. So we had a bit of technical things. So I think, working with.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Larry. Larry, can you just, yeah.
I don't know when the muting happened. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think back on.
Okay, what I was trying to convey is the idea that we are in a new world, as Peter Lamb clearly indicated, where we're able to use remote diagnostics, remote monitoring, artificial intelligence, real-time processing of complicated sensors. For our panel, I'm going to suggest, Edmund, that we've got 4 questions to ask. What do we do now to not only look at each individual patient in front of us, but how the overall population health is functioning too? That's what we have learned from COVID. That's what we're learning from complicated and costly conditions, the most costly conditions and difficult conditions in the world, such as diabetes or cardio conditions and capabilities like that. We also need to ask the question, what does it mean to shift global health norms? Just as one example of that, I think it's really interesting to realize that in the history of humans on our planet, until relatively recently in normal human time, about maybe 50 years ago, the wealthiest people in the world were overweight, and the people that were not so wealthy were underweight. And that is all flipped. Today, if you eat the most affordable foods that are designed to be tasty and compelling, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a bad healthcare outcome later on in life. That's what it means to think about this important question, Edmund, of what we want to do to get a longer, healthier life. Third really valuable puzzle for designers and everyone connected to BODW should be thinking about is what kinds of innovations will make the difference in diagnostics, treatment protocols, and switching from health care, which essentially looks at people only when they have a very extreme presenting condition, to a longer, healthier life, the sort of topic of this panel, with which I've emphatically agreed. And the fourth and final thing is that if you don't find new ways to pay for this and to make it affordable and to make it seamless, and specifically to change people's behaviors rather than investing only in extremely costly care when they have difficulties, it will actually sink most thoughtful governments in the ways in which they're addressing things. I'm going to go past this so that we can get to our conversation, but I do want to show one thing in the spirit of fostering a more interesting way to think about the future. In the work of the creation of a brand new medical school, the first new medical school in the US in about 20 years, Kaiser Permanente's dean asked a couple of useful questions. She said, what do we need to do that is different from medicine now. And remember, that's challenging because all doctors have to study for between 4 and 12 years to master their fields. And what the dean at the new Kaiser Permanente Medical School has chosen to do is two things. She said, first thing, doctors now no longer should be acting entirely alone, one doctor, one patient. There are so many kinds of specialties and so many kinds of sophisticated views you might need of that patient that we need to teach it as a team sport.
Yeah, I think, the line is a bit, unsteady.
Oh, geez. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Larry, please continue. Yeah.
Anyway, the last thing that I'll say is that the dean also said that they wanted to teach medicine not just as a team sport, but as a data science, so that every single medical care team looks at the patient, the cohort of patients that they should be researching from that are like that patient, and looking at the population that patient comes from to determine what other issues they should be wrestling with. And I think as we think about that, Edmund, and we think about the ways in which, as Rama pointed out, health will be moving steadily into smarter homes. The way in which the brand new hospital we're about to hear about in Hong Kong will make brilliant new forms of care possible needs to be met by the design efforts to try to move thoughtful care into people's homes in a natural way that human beings are designed to live. And it's been a great privilege to be able to at least introduce those ideas. I hope we'll talk about it more as a group.
Thank you very much, Larry. We certainly can extend that in our conversations. Now, Dr. Fung, of course, we know that you're just about to open, the new hospital, but I understand that you have much experience, working on planning related to aging. So please share with us, some of the age-related developments that you have, that you can share with us, please.
Yeah, thank you, Edmund, and it's delighted to listen to Rama, Peter, and also Larry on to share, how we see the future. So I'm going to talk a little bit about design for well-being. And of course, that's a response to aging population. This is what the WHO said, and irrespective of age. Yeah, and I think most people probably are not aware and might have forgotten that they say the WHO actually got a global strategy. So it's not about only talking about COVID. It's also talking about aging and health. And this is from Canada. And it's been talking about how to actually design in such a way to make facilities, to make systems age-friendly. They include not just the physical design aspect, but also policies, how people behave, and the systems of care. The 4 dimensions are important. So in Hong Kong, we try to actually think of how to actually plan ahead in terms for our future. We think in an integral manner. It's not just technology. It's not just a physical building. It's also people, their home, their environment, and also how we act and interact with each other. And these actually are integral components that could actually be encapsulated and then translated into an integrated care. On the use of IT, although nowadays we can actually look upon technology to help us to create that seamlessness, that interconnections, yeah? But there's much more than that. So I'm actually going back to the basic a little bit. At the CUHK, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, we have a Institute of Aging, which is actually sponsored by the Jockey Club in Hong Kong. And they've been exploring, trying to understand how to build the environment, how to build an age-friendly built environment. That applies not only to hospitals, but also elderly homes, communities, society, and even within the home environment. So what does it really mean? What are the necessary requirements? Yeah? And with architects and with elderly person, healthcare workers, and social workers, everybody working together, they've identified actually 9 focuses, which I will use to our current new hospital to illustrate how these 9 focuses will be developed, to create a space and total environment which will suit the elderly. The first is, of course, the sense of place, and especially in a healthcare environment, it is actually how to design in a human touch in the total environment that will actually support a good experience, seamless flow, eliminate waste, and create values. And I think what Larry's talked about, and that is health is important. You know, in healthcare environment, we are not just treating illnesses. We have to take care of health. Second problem is actually in a lot of aged built environment, which is often neglected, and it's because it's actually designed by young people, and they actually don't understand problems that are faced by the elderly. Somebody of maybe my age or Larry's age. Yeah, so orientation is important, lighting is important. Yeah. And also the sense of community to make sure that you don't have we have a human scale of space that will be able to actually promote a healing, a sense of peaceful peace of mind, so that they will be able to participate and contribute to their health. Another aspect is the connectivity, transport. And then and incorporating with the safety as well, because especially in a healthcare situation in which most healthcare facilities is just like a maze, and when you go into it, you got lost. You don't know where to go, and an elderly person can easily get confused. And you don't need the high technology to do that. But nowadays, we do have high technology that could help us to navigate through the system, like in-house navigation, and including the use of real-time location tracking. This how IoT, the use of technology, could help and complement the physical environment. Security is another aspect which is important in healthcare environment, in old age homes, and especially for demanded patients, making sure that they don't get lost, reduce the risk of falling. So these are the kind of things that through sensors, that would actually help us to actually ensure that people are kept healthy. And also, crowding and privacy are also important issues, especially in highly density areas in Hong Kong. We also try to make use of physical space and the technology to join together to create a type of thing that will be able to empower patients so that they will be able to participate in their care processes. So, for example, patients owning their own medical records, tele-visit, tele-consultations, these are the kind of things where you get the physical and digital integration that will help the support of care. And then, of course, help them to stay active. And last but not the least is actually the connection to nature, in which making use of natural lighting and all that to try to create a healing environment. This is actually very much sort of evidence-based, making use of nature to do the healing. So throw away technology, just open the patient environment to nature. That would have a lot of good effects. So I'm trying to be very quick to save time and go through the list of things that we try to encapsulate in a new environment. But I would say that the new environment is actually, although we talk about technology, we talk about some old textbook type of physical design. But I think most important message is what Rama has started at the very beginning. How do we sort of be inclusive, and engaging the key real stakeholders? For example, we will talk about the aging population. It is the elderly themselves. How can we actually sort of engage them and then be able to address the problems and real problems. And this actually is the areas in which we can bring in innovations and beyond soft technology. So I'll try to be very quick, to catch up with some time. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fung. Now, Rama and Larry, and in the interest of time, I think we have just under 10 minutes time. Can we do kind of a bit of synthesis here? Now, we cannot explore everything, because it's such a broad topic, okay? But let's start, with what Dr. Fung, just left. We have, this the new hospital coming in play, and of course, the many different design parameters like sense of place, sense of community, and different design attributes that we have in mind. And what can we do to foster a truly humanized health and care environment and service culture for quality health delivery? Okay. Now, the reason I say it is because with all the technology and different layers of data generated, it seems to be a concern that the governance system in place could possibly, stifle rather than foster innovations. Okay. So what could we do, to help assure that we don't lose the genuine intent, to provide a human-centered care? So Larry, please start, with your sharing here.
Thank you, Edmund. When I focus on this with my graduate students, what I tend to do is to try to ultra simplify. And the rule of thumb that all designers are familiar with is that the dumbest way to simplify something is to throw out all the hard parts. So what I try to do is to bring in the very best of clinical research, explain it to the designers in such a way that they fully understand the underlying complexities that they have to address, and then challenge them to build something natural, simple, and warm. Let me give you just one example, Edmund, because I know our time is short. In a recent exercise with some great graduate students looking at complicated patient conditions, where the number of medications being taken every day and the interactions of those medications and the complexity of which ones had to be taken either before food or with food or many hours after food, it was too complicated for some patients to be able to understand at all, especially those that were in their later years and maybe were having some early stage Alzheimer's effects. And so the students were able to create using things like the new vocal platforms, Siri and Apple and Amazon Alexa, and the new visual platforms, the kinds of reminders that would pay enough attention to what was actually happening in that patient's life. And so you would get a reminder that said, it's time to take the red pill. It looks like this. Push this button when you finish taking it. And it was just so natural and so wonderful. And the doctors themselves were thrilled because no one had ever brought design talent to their complex regimens and made it as simple and elegant as it could possibly be. And I think that those are the kinds of things that allow us to humanize complexity, create natural regimens that deal with complex underlying conditions. That's not as interesting or important as the actual idea of changing people's lifestyles when they're younger so that we don't get these costly conditions, but that's another topic.
Sure. Now, Rama, I'm trying to ask, this to you and at the same time integrate, some of the questions that we receive. And design is a participatory co-design process, right? And some, of the questions and being asked is, what can we do, to ensure that design can be practically executed? Because sometimes, you think about the big thing, it seems to be too nice, but it cannot be implemented. So, but design is a process. Can you share with us, some of your thoughts?
Sure. So designers, we are professional dreamers, but we also have our feet firmly planted on the ground. We have, design is made better when many hands touch it, when there's many fingerprints. So in every project we've done, we include clinicians as part of the design team and designers as part of the clinical team. So there is no separation. So I think in terms of making design effective, it's probably best represented by this process. It's the act of doing this. Instead of holding on to your ego, your intention, your drive, it's opening up a situation to allow other people to take part. So design becomes its most effective and its most conscious when it's inclusive. And that is inclusive of people of all ages, all genders, all needs, all cultures, all races. So that would be my short answer.
I see. So thanks, Rama, for that. Peter, we're talking about the whole system approach, okay? And the whole thing is about to safeguard our good intent, which is patient-centered, people-centered care, okay? But technology is kind of like, could be very overwhelming, yeah? The big data, at different levels, and we're talking about cloud computing. So are you concerned that, if the tech is going way too fast, and it will backfire, on the governance or the developments of our original intent, which is, to build better health services for people?
Thanks, Hamlin. I think if we always do the development from technology viewpoint, it's always a risk of going so far. But nowadays, in particular those medical application and services, we always, in the developing stage, we come from what we call the inside out and outside in. Firstly, from those customer pain points from the perspective, and that's very important. We have to understand their service requirement from their perspective, and then make use of the necessary technology, try to make a design solution. I agree with Rama and Larry and Dr. Fung that the solution has to be humanized with care and sympathy. That's very, very important. In particular, we are going to serve those aging population and chronic diseases like hypertension and mental illnesses, etc. So in the design cycle, that's all the tech company try to avoid. And Rama just proposed a very good idea. You have to make all the ecosystem player participation in designing the solution. That's right. Very important.
Wow, okay, so Dr. Fung, back to you. I think you are the CEO of the hospital, and then you are the innovator, you are the planner, but at the same time, you have to safeguard patient safety, quality delivery. So what is your kind of brief synthesis of all this? How can you assure that your good intent could be implemented?
We call health systems complex adaptive systems. That means healthcare is intrinsically complex, and uncertain, and risky, and because of that, but we want caring as well. So for me, there are two basic principles when we talk about design, the purpose of design. Two principles are important. First principle is that we don't allow technology or whatever to take over caring. So caring is fundamental. The people-to-people interaction is important. Doctors talking to patients, nurses touching the patients. These are important. That cannot be replaced. The second principle when we use technology in a complex system is that it has to simplify things. Yeah? Simplify processes, reduce unnecessary processes. So whenever we can simplify, make the life easier for doctors, nurses, and patients, then we use and adopt and develop it. Yeah? Whatever that's not useful to them, then we, no matter how beautiful the technology is, we'll just put it aside and leave it to the researchers.
Okay.
So these are the two principles that we've been using, in terms of, what we want to do for improving healthcare.
Wow. Okay. Now, so I guess well, this is a very brief round of exchange, and but I guess the message is very clear. If we continue, the dialogue, it is going deeper into how we create and how we co-create, the better future for everyone. And empathy is very important, okay? The more technology is driven, is overwhelming, could be very overwhelmingly, influencing developments. But that ability to embrace humanity and human values become even more important. Okay, and Rama, and we've been working with so long and talking about design thinking, is always about a methodology, how we frame problems, and help to build, the rapport and the muscles of empathy. So I guess, this session, hope, to give, the audiences some sense of importance that, we cannot live in a just tech-led, development world. And I think it's very important to remain very sensitive to the cultures, to the environment, to the humanity. Importantly, to reconnect, with the people around us and the community that, we are living in, so to speak. And technology always, have the power, to transform and create even bigger impact. Now, this comes, to very much, to the end. Thank you very much, for joining. And BODW is always about a program which helps, to give people the chance to reimagine the new future and rediscover new possibilities. So we welcome you, to experience the Business of Design Week. That we have very seriously curated, a program for the future for all of you, to get some insights, whether that is the culture for the city, whether it's brands, whether that's health, whether that's related, to communications. And tomorrow, Saturday, same time, 8 p.m., there's another session experiencing city experiences, immersive city experiences. So we welcome you to join. Thank you very much for joining us.